are back here on Open. President Donald Trump threatens to shut down the United States government if he doesn't receive funding for the wall. And with the Paul Manafort trial and Michael Cohen revelations, what does this actually mean for the president? Here to tell us more is our political expert, Lee Bynes, and good to have you.
Good to be back. Good to see you back.
Well, I'm glad to be back. You know,
okay.
It's been a minute, but we're all right.
All right, let's rock.
Let's get at it. Let's talk about this here. So the Manafort trial begins, and early revelations come out. What can we make of what we're hearing out of this trial?
Well, let's talk about the trial first. It's already started. It started yesterday, as a matter of fact, and they're on what's called a rocket docket in the court that he's being tried in, where they've actually seated the jury. They actually called their first witness, and looks like Manafort is getting things off the ground. Now, I got some numbers that I'd like to throw at you right now, because this is the stuff that he's facing. 60 million, 30 banks, and 3 countries. What does that mean? That means that the government has found that this guy has been hiding at least $60 million that he didn't tell the IRS about. It was stashed in over 30 banks in 3 different countries around the world. He's being charged. He's got 18 felonies that he's facing right now. He's got 35 witnesses up against him. 5 of those have already been given immunity. So whatever those people are going to say is going to, I don't know. I think that might give him something to think about going forward. And if all of that isn't enough, Mueller's actually got 500 pieces of evidence that he wants to bring forward as he prosecutes Mr. Manafort.
Yeah, now, with all of this facing right now, we've heard the president come in response to day number 1, talking about, with all of the trial, no collusion. Collusion is not happening. That's what you guys are looking for. You can't prove it. This trial's a waste. Your response?
Well, as far as the Manafort portion of this process is concerned, there is no real connection to Donald Trump out of his particular trial, unless some of these people who've been given immunity has something to offer that could tie him to it. Still, Donald Trump has been extremely nervous about this. I understand that from folks in the White House that he's been paying very, very close attention to what's being going on, and he's extremely stressed out about it. But Manafort is off to the side right now. The real deal that's going on right now is between Michael Cohen, Lenny Davis, his attorney, and Rudy Giuliani, who's defending the president and doing a rather poor job, as most experts will say, in terms of letting people know that, as late as this weekend, that, well, if there was any collusion going on, it's not really a crime. 24 hours later, Donald Trump took the lead, and he's also saying that collusion is no crime. However, I didn't do anything wrong. But there are 2 other C words that we could attach to him, and that's conspiracy and, obstruction of justice. These are the types of things that Cohen can actually tie to him. And if not directly to him, he could definitely get Jared Kushner and his son, Donald Jr., because apparently, you know, the revelations or the tapes that he's letting out right now indicates that Donald Trump did know about that meeting prior to it going on. And if that's the case, then now we at least have collusion. If not collusion, we definitely got conspiracy.
Well, let's move from there to talk about the wall. The president threatening a government shutdown if the wall doesn't receive funding. Once again, we've averted a government shutdown a couple of times. How realistic and how real do we think this can be?
Well, you know, it's been about 22 years since the government has actually come in with their budget on time without it having for them to go with a continuing resolution. That's just to give just enough money to keep the government going for a few months until they can figure things out. So as far as the shutdown is concerned, if Donald Trump decides to do it, Congress could push through a continuing resolution, and that would take it into December, which is well past the November elections. If that's the case, then, well, Donald Trump could dodge a bullet. However, he's been very, very emphatic about shutting down the government. He wants that $25 billion put into the budget. He's doing something rather odd by blaming the Democrats. If the Democrats don't give us the votes, then I'll have to shut down the government. I don't think the public is going to buy that whatsoever. And if anything, if he does pull anything like that, that'll stimulate those on the Democratic side to come out and vote against him.
Which is really into my next question. With the trial taking place, with this here, talking about the funding, the blaming of Democrats, how much do you see this all playing out by the midterm elections? I mean, it's got to be bad timing for the president. It's got to be bad timing for the GOP.
Well, up until now, I was saying that you got to be wary about the fact that there's going to be this big blue wave. But I think that we can say with confidence that a big blue wave is definitely coming. Donald Trump went after the Koch brothers yesterday, calling them out of touch. I don't want to say losers. I can't think of the exact insult that he gave them, but those folks put in over $400 and some odd million in the 2016 election. Donald Trump is talking about, I don't need their money. I didn't take their money. I could do without them, because the way he sees it right now, the Koch brothers and the Republican establishment is a different entity from the Republican Party that he's actually in control of right now. And since he has about between 88 and 90 some odd % of Republicans still, well, his base, still holding on to him, he's going to stick with this. He's going to stick with this, and he's going to fight even if he has to go with a civil war within his own party. On the other side of that, though, as far as the Democrats are concerned, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but unless the Democrats can find a way to sidestep Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, in my own personal opinion and my analysis and how I've been looking at it, they are and have been for the last couple of years an impediment to progress, and that's that progressive movement that's starting to gain some traction.
I did a panel discussion here recently, and some people said the big concern amongst the Democratic Party is there is no message beyond being anti-Trump. Agree, disagree?
Not only is there no message, I agree with that 100%, but they don't have a leader. They don't have a new, fresh face out there that they can get behind. Now, this young woman, Alexandria Cortez, who had a tremendous upset here in the Bronx, is making some noise, but she's facing some feedback because she's got that socialist democratic background, and the Republicans on one side can give her a lot of grief, and some Democrats can give her some more grief. However, if we start looking at people like Cynthia Nixon, who's running up against Governor Cuomo right now, she's getting a little more traction as well, and they're putting out that message of universal health care, free education. They're looking to legalize marijuana, not in just New York City, but in New York State completely. Governor Cuomo's kind of like been on the kind of slow to deliver. I was up in Boston. I was in Connecticut over the last couple of months, and I've been looking at their laws and how they're changing and how they've legalized. And the fact is, doing well, bringing in tax dollars. Well, Massachusetts just passed theirs for July 1st. Mm-hmm. So with regards to marijuana, and the reason why I bring this to the local level is because Cynthia Nixon pointed out the fact that over the last year, 93% of the people that were arrested for marijuana in the city were people of color, specifically black men, black and Latino males, and that's a hell of a strain on this particular community. So that progressive message is not, I wouldn't say catching fire, but a lot of people are beginning to pay attention to it.
So looking at what we just saw in New York primaries, any prediction for what we're going to see?
Well, I wouldn't want to predict that Cynthia Nixon has a big chance of winning, but as time goes on, again, like I say, people are paying attention to the progressive message. Bernie Sanders is out there on the national scene. He and Cortez got together and went out in the Midwest and was gathering names, getting money, getting people interested, and trying to take the taint off of that democratic socialist. I don't know how to call it, but it's definitely a problem for them. They got a learning curve. They've got some education to do, and I think that that message is going to sell eventually.
Right. Lee Bonds, that's why we bring you in. Good to see you.
Same here.
All right, buddy. Listen, we got more show coming up. Stay with us. We'll be right back in a few.